Hello, my unique soul buddies. You're welcome back again to this YouTube channel. It's Whitney IY here, and if this is your first time here, you're highly welcome. Please do not forget to hit the subscribe button and also click on the notification bell so you'll be notified whenever I drop a new video. In this video, we'll be making this beautiful bubu gown that has this tiny stripes and tassel designs. And this bubu gown also has pockets at the sides. So if this is something you're interested in, then do well and keep watching. And also, do not touch the dial. So let's dive right in. Here are some of the items I'll be making use of. I'll be making use of this Ankara fabric. It's about 5 yards. The 5 yards is for both the bubu gown and the scarf. Also, I'll be making use of this bias. I got 2 of the bias. Yeah, you can actually make use of any color of the bias in as much as it matches with a color in your fabric. Also, I'm making use of this tassel design. Yes, you can actually get this tassel design at your tailoring shop. Just get to show them the picture of it. Also, I'm making use of the chalk because I'll be drafting directly on the Ankara fabric. There's no need for pattern paper for this. So now in folding the Ankara fabric, I'll be folding this fabric into 4. So let me show you. So first, go ahead and spread it wide open like this, as you can see. So please just watch. I'll go ahead and spread it wide open like this. And after spreading it wide open, the next step I'll take is to bring in my measuring tape. Now I'll go ahead and measure the length of the gown I want to make. So for me, the length of this gown is 58 inches. That is how long I want this gown to be. So I'll be adding 2 inches to it for aiming allowance. So 58 plus 2 inches gives me 60. So I'll measure out 60 on my Ankara like this. And from that 60 inches, I will fold it over like this into 2. I hope you understand. So I'll fold it over like this. So I'll carefully fold it over into 2 like this, as you can see. So after folding it into 2, I'll go ahead and fold it again. After folding into 2, I'll go ahead and fold it over again like this into 4. So this is what I meant by folding it into 4. So this is how you fold it for bubu gown. So I'll fold it again like this into 4. Now, please take note that this part of the fabric where there is no opening is for the center front and the center back, while this part with the opening is for the sides of the bubu gown. Now, for most bubu gowns, the front and the back patterns are drafted together. So the more reason I folded my fabric into 4 so that I'll get to draft out the front and the back pattern the same time. I'll draft them out together. Moving on, the next step is to mark out half of the shoulder measurement on this fabric. So the shoulder measurement I'm working with is 15 inches divided by 2 gives me 7.5. So I'll go ahead and mark out 7.5 here on my fabric like this, at this part of my fabric like this. I'll mark it out. Now, since I'm drafting out the front and the back patterns together, I also have to draft out the back neckline and the front neckline as well. And for the neckline, you can choose to use the regular 3 by 3 inches, or you calculate for the specific neckline for that individual. So for this, my clients, I want to calculate for a specific neckline and use it. So for the specific, to get specific neckline for an individual, you divide the round bust measurements by 12. So my client's round bust measurement is 47. Divided by 12 gives me 3.9, and that is what I'm marking out here as the neck width. Now, firstly, for the back neck depth, I'll go ahead and mark out 1 inch like this, and then I'll connect it to the neck width. So remember, the standard back neck depth for every individual is 1 inch. And for the front neck depth, I'll be marking out the 3.9 inches like this. And once this is done, I'll go ahead and connect the neck width to the front neck depth by drawing out a curve like this. So you can actually use your hands to draw the curve, or you can use the curve rule to draw out the curve. So I later used the curve rule to draw the curve so that I can get a perfect curve. Yeah, So take note that this is the back neckline and the deeper one is the front neckline. So from the shoulder here, I'm going to mark out how long I want the sleeve of this bubble gown to be. And for this bubble gown, the length is 14 inches. But when you look at the style inspiration, you can see that the sleeve has this turn-up design. So for that turn-up design, I'm going to subtract 2 inches for it. So 14 minus 2 inches gives me 12. And that is what I'm marking out here, 12 inches from the shoulder measurement. Now from that 12 inches, I'll go ahead and come down by 1 inch like this to get that shoulder slant or slope, and I'll connect this to the neck width by using my straight rule like this. Now this slanting or slope makes the sleeve a little bit relaxed, so I'll just go ahead and connect like this. Next is to determine how wide you want the sleeve to be. So to get the wideness of the sleeve, you need to measure the round armhole. So the round armhole I'm working with is 24 inches divided by 2 gives me 12 inches. So I'll be adding 1 inch to that 12 inches, making it 13 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark out 13 inches from this slope like this, and I'll bring in my rule to connect these 2 points together to get a straight line like so. And this is how to get the armhole depth for bubble gowns. Now on the armhole depth, I'll go ahead and divide the round bust measurement by 4 and mark it out. So the round bust measurement I'm working with is 4 to 7 inches divided by 4 gives me 11.75 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark out the 11.75 inches here on the armhole depth point, and then I'll be adding 4-inch allowance. Yes, you know bubble gowns, they are always bigger than the body, so you had 4-inch. You can even add 5-inch or 6-inch. That's the highest, depending on how big you want the bubble gown to be. So next is to go ahead and mark out the length of the bubble gown. So remember, the length I'm working with for this bubble gown is 58 inches. Then I'll add 2 inches for aiming allowance, making it 60 inches. So I'll go ahead and measure out 60 inches like this and mark it out. So I'm just trying to arrange the fabric. So I'll measure 60 inches like this, and I'll mark out the 60 inches like so. So I'll repeat the same thing on the other side. Measure out the 60 inches by placing my tape from the top of the fabric to mark it out like this. So I actually have issues with drawing out straight lines, so I'll be using my straight rule to actually correct this line to make it straight. Now on this line, which is the hem, I'll go ahead and also divide the round bust measurement by 4 and mark it out. The round bust measurement I'm working with is obviously 47 inches divided by 4 gives me 11.75, and that is what I'm marking out here at the hem like this. And I will also add the 4 inches allowance to it. So for the sewing allowance, I'm going to be adding half an inch allowance for sewing this. So I'll go ahead and mark half an inch here as well. And on the bust area, I'll also be adding the half an inch for the sewing allowance like this. So I have the half an inch for sewing allowance, and I'll curve to the half an inch, and I'll connect this half an inch on the bust allowance to the half an inch at the hem. So you can see my line is bent, so I later corrected this using the straight line. So I'll just go ahead and curve like this. Now on this point here at the sleeve, I'll come in by half an inch here, and I'll connect this straight to the top part of the sleeve. Now what this simply does is that it gives the armhole a little bit of ease. And remember, at the sleeve hem there is this turn up design, so I'll be adding half an inch allowance for the sewing, for joining the turn up design to the sleeve hem. So I'll go ahead and add the half an inch allowance here. And you can also choose to add half an inch allowance at the shoulder as well if you wish. At the hem here, I went up by the 2 inches for aiming allowance and marked it out, so that when I'm cutting out this fabric, I'll just get to snip this point. That way it will be way easier for me when I'm turning the hem of this bubble gown. So I'll go ahead and cut, and I will snip this point, and I'll keep cutting. You can see that I've used my rule to straighten out the lines. And when cutting the neckline, I'll first of all cut out the back neckline, then take out the fabric that will be used for the back pattern before I'll go ahead and cut out the front neckline. I hope you do understand, so please just watch. So now that I'm done cutting, I'll go ahead and take out this fabric. So this will be for the back pattern, as you can see. So I'll take this out, and I'll go ahead and indicate the wrong side of this fabric. So this helps with avoiding confusion when both sides of the fabric, are lookalikes. So I'll go ahead and fold this other fabric that is the front, that will serve as the front pattern. I'll fold it well like this, and I'll go ahead and cut out the front neckline like this. Looking at the sky inspiration, you can see that there is a slit on the front neckline. So for that slit, I'm going to come down by 4 inches from the front neck depth like this. So I'll mark out 4 inches from the neck depth, and I'll go ahead and bring in my scissors to slit this open like this. So the slit is going to stop at the 4 inches that I marked out. So I'm just making sure this fabric is carefully arranged while cutting this. Since I'm not making use of a lining for this bubble gown, then I will need an interfacing to make the neckline looks neater. So for that, I'll bring in a piece of the remaining fabric, and I'll go ahead and fold it into 2 like this. So I'll carefully fold it into 2. After folding it, I'll bring in the front pattern and carefully place it like this. And in placing it, I'll make sure that the sides without opening are on the same spot like this. That is the center front of the bubble gown should also be on the center front of the interfacing like so. So I'm just making sure it's properly arranged. Then I'll bring in my scissors and go ahead and cut out the front neckline on the interfacing like this. Next step is to go ahead and cut out the shoulders, but before doing that, I'll go ahead and come out by 1 inch from the original shoulder measurement and mark it out on the interfacing fabric. So this is where the interfacing is going to stop at this point. So I'll go ahead and snip it open like so, and then I'll cut it out like so. Moving on, I'll go ahead and determine how long I want this interfacing to be. And to do that, I'll go ahead and mark out where that slit on the front neckline stops on the interfacing. And after marking it out, from that slit, I'll go ahead, that is from that 4 inches mark, that is where the slit stop, I'll go ahead and mark out 6 inches from that point on the interfacing fabric like this. And once I'm certain that the markings are obvious on the interfacing fabric, I'll go ahead and cut open the slit on the interfacing fabric and make sure that it stops at the 4 inches mark. So right now, connect this point on the shoulder to the 6 inches mark that I came down with from the slit like this with a rectangular shape. So at this point, I also curve the edge here. You can decide to leave the edge as a square shape like that or decide to curve it, but I feel like curving it makes it look more attractive. It makes the interfacing look more attractive. So I've cut this out, and when I get to open it, this is what I have for the front neckline interfacing. So right now it's time to cut out the back neckline. So I'll place it again like this and trace out this curve edges. Trace out the side, the curved side like this. So I'll go ahead and cut. So please watch. So I'll place it like this. So right now, I'll also go ahead and just cut out only the shoulder. You can see the way I'm cutting it out. So I'm not cutting out the neckline because the back neckline is different from the front neckline. So I'll indicate the wrong side of this front interfacing. So right now, I'll bring in the back pattern and also go ahead and place it like this so that I can be able to cut out the back neckline on the back interfacing. So I'll place it like this. And I'll go ahead, after making sure it's properly placed, I'll go ahead and cut out the back neckline on the back interfacing like this. I'll trace it out like this. So now this is the back interfacing or interface, and I will indicate the wrong side of it as well. So this is what you should have. Next step is to go ahead and turn the hems of the interface. So there are 2 methods to doing this. The first method is to go ahead and turn about ½ an inch of the edges of the interface twice. You turn it twice, then you run a stitch through it, you get. Now the second method is to go ahead and bring in the bias. So after bringing in the bias, you go ahead and open up the first fold on the bias and you place it on the edge of the interface like this and you stitch it. After stitching it, you flip it to the wrong side like this and you stitch it round. So that is, you first of all place it on the right edge, the right side of the edge of the interface and stitch it before flipping it over. So I'll do the same thing on the front interface as well. I'll also go ahead and aim the edge. So I'll be using the bias method. Next step is to go ahead and mark out the lines where the tiny stripe designs to be sewn to. So in doing that, the first step is on the neck depth from the center front. I'll go in by 2 inches and mark it out. So I'll mark out 2 inches from the center front on the neck depth. Then from the neck width, I'll go in by 1 inch like this. From the neck width, I'll go in by 1 inch like so. So this is where the third stripe will be sewn to. Now from this 1 inch, I'll go ahead and mark out 1.5 inch. So I'm just going to clean the shoulder measurement, or let me just indicate it with these T signs so you know where the lines will be sewn to. So from this 1 inch, I'll mark out 1.5 inch like this, and indicate it with the T sign. From there, I'll also mark out 1.5 inch like so. So I need 6 lines. So after counting, I have 5, so it's remaining 1 more. So I'll also come out by 1.5 inch from this 5th line. And now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, as you can see. So right now it's time to transfer these markings to the right side of the fabric. So I'll go ahead and open up the fabric like this and then transfer the markings to both sides of the front pattern. I hope you understand. So I'll also do the same thing on the shoulders. So I'll transfer the markings to both sides of the shoulders as well, like this. So I'm making sure it's on the same spot. I hope you do understand. So I'm doing the same thing to this other line as well. I'm making sure the fabric is properly arranged, because you want to have equal lines on both sides of the shoulders, you get. So that's what I am doing here. I'm transferring the lines to the right side of the fabric on both shoulders. So that's what I am doing. So remember, it is 5 lines on the right, 5 lines on the left, and 1 line on the center front. So when you count from the center front to the left, you have 6. From the center front to the right, you have 6 as well. So right now, I'll go ahead. So you can see, so one line will be here on the center front, like I earlier stated. So you can see it's 6 from the left, 6 from the right. So right now, go ahead and mark out where I want these tiny stripes to stop, meet. So you can either measure from the shoulder to the navel and mark it out, or come down by 2 inches from your front waist length. So from the shoulder to the navel for this, my client, is 22 inches. So I've marked out 22 inches. So I'll mark out this 22 inches on the center front. So I'll go ahead and do that. I'll mark this out on the center front like this. So to make your center front more obvious, make sure you iron your front pattern when it is on fold. Iron the center front so that it will give you that gator, or that line, and that will be, it will make it very easy for you to indicate your center front. So right now I'm connecting the 22 inches to where the slit stops on the center front. So this is where the tassel design will be once I'm done sewing the tiny stripes designs. So right now it's time for me to bring in my rule and connect all the markings I did on the shoulders and on the neck depth to meet up to the 22 inches marked out on the center front. So I'll be placing my rule in a slanted shape like this, in a slanted way like this. You can see what I'm having here. So it's more of like all the lines are meeting up at one point on the center front at the navel, around the navel area, because that's where I want it to stop. All these lines, that's where I want all of them to meet. So you can see I am connecting like this. And take note that these markings are done on the right side of the fabric. So if you have the invisible chalk, you can make use of it to outline these markings out. So this is me just connecting the lines to meet up at this point here. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm making sure the lines are as straight as possible, because it is on those lines that I'm going to sew in the tiny stripes. So that's what I am doing, connecting. So once I'm done with this side, I'll go over and do the other side, connect it as well to meet up at the point that is around the navel on the center front like this. And once I'm done connecting, I'll go ahead and bring in the bias to sew as the tiny stripes. Now you can make use of either the bias or the crepe fabric. For the crepe fabric, you just cut it into little tiny fabrics and then fold it and sew it as your tiny stripes. But I feel all of that is quite stressful, so to avoid all of that stress, just make use of a bias. Now the bias comes in this form, so all I have to do is to fold it into two like this. So you can see it now becomes tiny. So this is what I'll be sewing on the lines. So I'll go ahead and place it on the lines like this, and then I'll sew on both sides of the folded bias. I'll sew on both sides of it, you get. So this is how I'll place it on all the lines, and then I'll go ahead and sew on both sides. So the lines will serve as my guide on how I'll be placing the bias to stitch on both sides of the bias. I hope you do understand. So I'll go ahead and do this now. I'll go ahead and stitch down the bias to these lines and the folded bias to these lines. And once I've done that, I'll come back and show you how it looks. So guys, this is it. You can see how beautiful it is looking, and you can see that the stripes are tiny. Yeah. Next, I'll go ahead and bring in the tassel design, and I'll use my needle and thread to tack it to the stripe line on the center front like this. So I'll just tack it to it like this. You can see how beautiful it is looking, and I'll make sure that the tacking is neat. So next, I'll go ahead and bring in the interface for the front, which of course I have already aimed the edges. As you can see, I made use of the bias method, which I stated earlier on. So you can see how neat it is looking. So I'll go ahead and place it like this, and in placing it, I'll make sure that the right sides are facing each other. That is, the right side of the interface is facing the right side of the fabric, of the front fabric like this. So after placing it, I'll close up the neckline with 1/2 inch, and then close up the slit and with 1/2 inch. And in closing up the slit, it has to be in U shape like this. So you can see the way I am, marking out U. So when marking your 1/2 inch, it has to be in U shape for closing the slit. So that is that for that. So after doing that, I'll bring in the back pattern as well, and also go ahead and open it like this, making sure the right side is facing me. And then I'll bring in the interface as well, which I've also gone ahead to aim the edges, turn the edges. So I'll also place it like this, making sure the right side of the interface is facing the right side of the fabric. And I'll also go ahead and close up the neckline using 1/2 inch. Next, I'll go ahead and cut out fabrics for the pockets. So for the fabrics, I have 4 of this. That is 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I have 4 of this fabric. So 2 will be on one side of the pocket, 2 on the other side of the pocket. And the width of these fabrics are 7 inches wide, and the length is 12 inches long. So that is what we have here. So at this edge here, I want you to have that pocket curve, that curveness that most pockets do have. I don't know, it always looks beautiful to me. So if you don't want it to have this curveness, no need of curving it out like this, but I just love this curveness that the pockets do have at the edge here. Next is to bring in the front pattern and decide where you want the pocket seated. And to do that, mark out the front waistline and come down by 1 inch from the front waistline. So initially I came down by 2 inches from my client's front waistline, but I later decided to come down by 1 inch because the pocket was way better seated at 1 inch from the front waistline. So I'll go ahead and mark it out on the side, and after marking it out, from what I marked out, I'll come down by 6 inches like this and mark it out. So once I've done this, I'll go ahead and bring in one piece of the pocket that was cut out earlier on. I'll bring it in and I'll place it like this. So in placing it, before placing it, I would need to come down from the pocket piece by 1/2 inch. And from this 1/2 inch, I'll go ahead and mark out the same 6 inches I marked out on the main fabric. So I'll just go ahead and mark out the 6 inches like this. And in placing it, I'll make sure that the 1/2 inch marking on the pocket piece is directly on the first marking on the main fabric. And I'll go ahead and stitch the pocket piece to the main fabric, starting from the 1/2 inch to the 6 inches. I'll stop at the 6 inches. So I'll be using 1/2 inch sewing allowance. So I'll repeat the same thing on the other side of the front fabric, and I'll repeat the same thing on the back pattern as well, using the same 1 inch from the front waistline. So this is what I have stitched it down, and this is for the back pattern. So you can see that the pocket piece has been attached to this side, and I did the same thing on the other side as well. So I'll bring in the front pattern so that I can go ahead and close up the shoulders. So in placing the front patterns, I'll make sure the right side of the front pattern is on the right side of the back pattern. So you can see I have already joined the interface at the necklines. So I'll go ahead and carefully arrange it. And you can also see the pocket piece has also been attached to the front pattern as well. So I'll carefully place it like this, making sure the right sides of the back pattern is also facing the right side of the front pattern. And it's time to go ahead and close up the shoulder. So in closing up the shoulder, there are two methods you can use. So you can just go ahead and flip over this interfacing like this, flip it over to the back pattern and close up the shoulders using 1/2 inch, or you can bring out the interfacing for the front and the back like this and place it together. So in placing it together, you make sure that the shoulders of the shoulder joining of the front and the back pattern are on the same point, and then you go ahead and close up the shoulders using 1/2 inch. You do the same thing on the other shoulder as well. So once I get to do this, I'll come back and show you guys. So you place the two interface together and make sure that the shoulder joinings are directly on each other and close up the shoulder using 1/2 inch. After joining the shoulders, to secure the interfacing more, I'll go ahead and put aiming gum in between the interfacing and the main fabric. So I'll do that around the slit here, and I'll also do that on the necklines and iron. This way you don't need to start arranging the interfacing whenever you're putting on the bubu gown. So next is to go ahead and sew in the turn-ups for the bubu sleeves. So I'll go ahead and open it up like this and measure out the sleeve width. So after measuring it out, I have 26 inches. So I also go ahead and cut out 26 inches long of fabric like this. And I did cut out 2 of this. So this is 26 inches long, and for the wideness, it is 2 inches wide. So if I get to open this up, it will be 4 inches wide. So this is 2 inches wide on fold. So this is what I'll be sewing to the hem of this bubu sleeve. But before sewing it, there's this turn-up design that is at the sleeve here. So to achieve that, I'll be making use of the bias. So I'll go ahead and bring in the bias. You can actually also make use of the crepe material. You just cut out, a tiny piece of it, and then you iron in your ST and fold it into 2 and sew it on the right side of the edge. You sew it on the edge of the right side of this piece. So since I'm making use of a bias, this is how I'll be folding my bias. So the folding is going to be different from the one I did initially for those tiny stripes. So let me just show you. Let me bring this closer so you see. So this is how the bias comes, right? So what I'll do is I'm going to fully open both parts up, and I'll go ahead and I'll fold it into 2 like this. And I will place this on the right side of the fabric at the edge here, making sure that the opening side of the bias is on the edge. That is, the side with the openings on the bias will be on the edge of this fabric. And I'll go ahead and stitch it down. Yes, I'll go ahead and stitch it down, leaving about 0.25 inch from the folded part of the bias. So this is what I'm talking about. I've stitched it down on the right side, obviously, as you can see. So this is what I have. I don't know if you can zoom this in so you can get to see it. So this is what I have. So I stitched it on the 1/2 inch sewing allowance. You can choose to just go ahead and stitch it directly on the edge. No need for coming in by 1/2 inch, but for me I just choose to. So right now it's time to attach this to the sleeve hem, and in attaching this to the sleeve hem, you need to press open the shoulders seam. You need to press open the shoulder seam, and in placing it, the right side needs to be on the wrong side of this sleeve. So you place it like this. So, and when you're placing it, you're going to be sewing this side without the bias to it like this. And I'll be sewing it with 1/2 inch allowance. So I'll go ahead and do that and come back and show you guys. So this is it, and I've gone ahead to flip the main fabric to the right side. So right now it's time to fully stitch down the remaining piece of the sleeve hem. So in doing that, I'm going to turn over the stitches at this side of the piece inward like this, so leaving out the 0.25 inch that I said will be left out from the bias. That is that folded part of the bias that has no opening. So that is what is now being left out. And I'll go ahead and run a straight stitch on the Ankara, more of like I'm top stitching on the Ankara. So this is what you should have. So I'll do this on the other side of the sleeve as well. I'll repeat this exact same thing on the other side of the sleeve as well. So I'll go ahead and do this, and once I'm done, I'll come back and show you guys. So this is it. I have stitched it down, so I'll go ahead and iron. You can see how beautiful it is looking. Moving on, it's time to turn over the hem of the bubu gown, and to do that, I'm going to go ahead and flip over this fabric to the wrong side. So I'll go ahead and flip it to the wrong side, and I'll go ahead and fold in the 2 inches like this on the wrong side. So it is easier for me to know where the 2 inches start from because of that snip that I did earlier on. So after folding in the 2 inches, I'll go ahead and iron. Then I'll go ahead and fold in half an inch like this, and I will run a stitch through it. So I will fold in the 2 inches for the hemming allowance, iron, and then I'll go ahead and also fold in another half an inch at the top like this, and I'll run a stitch through it. So I'll repeat the same thing at the hem of the back pattern as well. And after doing that, remember that there is a slit opening at the side of this bubu gown from the down part, at the down part precisely. So for that, I'm going to come up by 12 inches from the hem. That is, after turning the hem, I'll come up by 12 inches. And once I do that, to turn the slit opening, I'll also be making use of the bias as well. So you can see how versatile this bias is on this bubu dress. So right now, once I turn the hem of this bubu dress, the next step is to go ahead and close up the sides. So I'll go ahead and bring in the back pattern and place it like this on the front pattern, making sure that the right sides are facing each other, obviously. And also, once I do that, don't forget I'll be ironing hemming gum to secure this interfacing more. So I'll get to show you once I've done all of that. So this is me arranging the fabrics well, and you can see the pocket piece. I am arranging it, making sure that they are together like this. So I'm making sure they are together. So I'll go ahead and close up the side seam with half an inch allowance, and then I'll close up this half an inch allowance here on the pocket opening. I'll close this part as well, close up the curved edges as well with half an inch, and then I'll close up this remaining part of the side seam using half an inch as well, and I'll stop at the 12-inch mark that I came up with from the bubu hem. I hope you understand. So I'll go ahead and do that, and I'll come back and show you guys. So guys, this is it. So this is it. I've ironed in hemming gum to secure the interface to the main fabric. So you can see it's now more secured, it's no longer disturbing. So that's that for the interface business. So for the side seams, you can see also I have closed it up, I have stitched it down, and I have stitched the pocket as well. From this, you can see I stop here from this 6 inches. I also stitched down the side seam, and I stopped 12 inches from the hem. So for the pocket as well, I stitched it up here, and here. So that is that for that, and I did the same thing on the other side as well. So for the slit opening, you can see that it is 12 inches from the hem. That is after turning the hem, it is 12 inches. That is how long the slit is. That is where it stops. So right now it's time for me to turn the edges of this slit to make it look neater, and to do that I'll be needing my bias. So I'll go ahead and bring in my bias as well. And now that I have the bias, the next thing I would want to do is to bring in the bias like this, open one side of the folded part of the bias and stitch it to the right side of the slit, and then after stitching it, I'll turn it over to the wrong side like this and stitch on the other edge of the bias. So I'll stitch it down. So that's how I'm going to do it on all sides, all edges of the slit, to make it look neater. So I'll also do it on this other side of the slits as well. And that is all for making this stylish bubu gown. So if you enjoyed this video, and if this video was helpful to you and you're yet to hit the subscribe button, please do what to hit the subscribe button, and also give this video a thumbs up. So this bubu gown is actually not my size. Yes, it is for a client that is a size 18 and I am size 10. So I just had to put on this bubu gown so you can see how beautiful it is looking. And of course, you can see the U slit on the front neckline. You can see how beautiful it is looking, and with the tiny stripes and the tassel design, and also the turn up at the sleeve hem. So see you on my next video. Love ya. Mwah.